Yo people, welcome back to another review, this time the Acolyte episode 8, the finale, and somehow they actually managed to make the finale even more cringe and even worse than what I thought, and I already had very low expectations. In the finale, they just decided to show their true colours with the messaging, with the agendas, and how sick and twisted Leslye Headland really is. Now, she really feels that men are trash and all this thing. We already know. This show cemented it, but not only that, it shows that she doesn't care about Star Wars, and if anything, it looked like intentional sabotaging of George Lucas's work. They managed to destroy the lore once again in this episode, and it was all a big pile of shit. They purposely left things as cliffhangers for next season, but if they give this a season 2, then just know it's going to be another total lore-destroying season, and they'll keep grabbing George Lucas's work, ripping it up into a billion pieces just to push their stupid agendas. And to this current day, we've seen the whole season. I still don't know where the $180 million for this show went into. I'm not sure. Only 10 million less than what it cost to make Dune 2. Now, let's start with the good, and I'm not really sure what there is, but I'll just say that I guess the villain is now the only decently good thing left after what they did to Saul, and I'll get into that later on. But even then, they kind of ruined his power levels. Qimir was out here fighting 4 or 5 Jedis at one time, but he was struggling to Saul. They were doing this cringe force thing that we've never seen. It was just all weird. They also tried to make it a shock reveal that Venestra was his former master when he was a Jedi. I called it back in my review for episode 6, so the fact that even I'm calling it shows that it's not a shock. All season long, they tried to do this shock reveal thing, but because of the amateur levels of writing, it was all predictable. It wasn't even a shock. It was just a matter of how long until they show us that it's actually true what we think. Anyways, let's move on to the bad. I don't even want to drag this because the more I think about it, the more things just don't make sense. Let's start off with Plagueis. We all knew he was going to be in this. They're going to try and grab him so that they could say and they could claim that they were the first show, the first piece of content to have him in live action. So we already knew that. We saw him spying on Qimir and Osha. His design was cool, don't get me wrong, but he should only be about 20 years old, if anything. But again, we see that they've destroyed another legacy character's age, their timeline, just to make them fit into this show. And when they brought him in, it's sabotaging on purpose. And it's ironic because they're in dire need of legacy characters to make the show more relevant, but they choose all the male ones. Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plagueis, we see Yoda later on, so why don't they push all their female ones? The female ones, they say all females are amazing. Why don't you use some of the female legacy ones? Oh yeah, because your actual goal is to try and sabotage everything. Now, I can already see them say that Plagueis only got his idea to try and create a Sith entity using the Force, which led to Anakin by the way, because of him spying on the twins and hearing about how the witches created life from the Force. So again, shitting on his character before it's even begun. And yet again, with Marvel, with Star Wars, male ideas only being relevant or only being a thing thanks to women. Next, they've already ruined Yoda. I just mentioned him. He was in there for 2 seconds at the end. Grandmaster Yoda somehow couldn't feel that at least 10 Jedi Masters got killed. He couldn't feel the presence of the Sith growing. Venestra says, I need to talk to you, and she's probably going to lie to him, and he's somehow not going to be able to sense the tension in her frustration, the lying, or anything like that. So they've already ruined him before he's even spoken a word. Another legacy character in the mud before anything's actually happened. So congratulations, they are actually doing really good if they're trying to sabotage, which they are doing. Next is Saul. Now, him and Qimir were the only good things, but they grabbed the male character that was carrying the show, aka Saul, and made sure to ruin all his stocks, make sure the whole journey we went through was for no reason. And they dunked all over him, they shat all over him, and I can't imagine why. The poor guy got made to look like an absolute dickhead and a victim. He wasted his time. He learned English for that role. He done it for no reason. At least he has that on his CV. He can speak English now. I hope he realizes how badly they fucked over his character and him. They don't respect him. So I hope he puts 2 and 2 together and he just boycotts Western studios from now on. Because basically, in order to not break the canon of the Sith having returned and the Jedi having acknowledged it, Venestra decided to put the whole blame on Saul. They were apparently really good friends as well, but she decided to frame him and ruin his whole legacy, and because he's dead he can't defend himself. That is messed up. They say that he committed suicide, but before doing that he killed the other 4 Jedi Masters. That in itself doesn't make sense. How did everyone else die? Because it wasn't just the 4 Jedi that died, there was about 10. So what was the story for all of them? There were also literally witnesses for Trinity's death as well. There was literally a black woman that killed a Jedi. Nope, that's Sol. Yeah, the Asian man did it. But yeah, Sol got made to look stupid, embarrassing, absolute bitch. The way he got force choked to death, absolute stupidity. Also by his ex-Padawan as she turned evil. Not sure how she made the crystal bleed from within the lightsaber, but who cares? Anyways, this show doubled down, tripled down on making the Jedi look like absolute shit, like the villains. And it wasn't even done in a debatable way, which could have been interesting. They could have done this whole point of view thing. No, they flat out just said, these guys are the villains. By the end of the show, the people that are the villains, the real ones, which were the twins and Qimir, it's not even serious. I can't take it serious. The twins are so cringe and gimmicky that I can't see them as the villains. I can see Qimir as a villain, kind of, but even then he doesn't look fully committed. They even did this cringe goodbye thing where they did singing and rhyming. It was dumb. I also don't mind this Osha Qimir love dynamic, but online it's now the low IQ people trying to hype it up and make it this relationship TikTok edity cringe thing. So yeah, less of that. As for May, the worst character of the whole show, she gets her memory wiped so she can't be used to track her sister and Qimir. She was the biggest flip-flop of this whole show, and the whole show originates and only happens because May decides to kill 3 Jedi because of the death of her mum. 3 Jedi that weren't responsible. It was only Sol, but she decides to kill the other 3. So this show happened for no reason because she ultimately forgets her whole existence from the age of 8 up until she gets her memory wiped. None of the bad characters that actually did villainous stuff actually had karma come their way apart from Sol. Vanestra, Osha, May, they all get to live their lives with no consequences because this is how extremist feminists like Leslye Headland think life works. They want to be praised, they want to be worshipped for being at the very top or just for being women. But when there's any responsibility, any tough moments, they don't want to be accountable and they run away from their problems. Just ask Leslye Headland about her involvement with Harvey Weinstein. It was all cringe, from the story to the dialogue. There was even this one line where May tells Sol to go to hell. Again, that doesn't exist in Star Wars. They don't even know that at this point you can become a Force ghost in the afterlife. So again, even down to the dialogue, they break canon, they don't know what world they're in, and they say things that they think makes them look edgy and cool, but it comes across as cringe and it doesn't make sense. Overall, this season gets a 1.5 out of 10 for me. Only the villain had anything respectable with this show. It would have got higher if Sol wasn't made to look like a bitch and got absolutely wrecked. The fighting scenes, I'd say they were better than before, so it gets a bit of points for that. But we're used to 0 out of 10 choreographies with Disney, so anything looks better next to the piles of shit that we've seen before, and I'm not going to get fooled by that. As a collective, this show is by far the worst Star Wars content ever made. I think it will be the worst thing ever released. I don't think anything can get worse than this. But don't hold your breath because Disney are actively trying to destroy Star Wars. Of course, you have the Disney warriors, the idiots that don't actually use their brain. They just consume. They don't question anything. They think everything's amazing. Bless them. Some of them are new fans, so they may not understand the lore and everything. They still might be getting used to it. So they may think that this show is doing good. It's not. But yeah, as always, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Did anyone actually like this show? Let me know. If you're one of them, don't be afraid to write it down in the comments. I'd actually want to hear the opposite view because there's not a lot of them. It seems like Disney are hiring bots online to make it look like the show's doing good, but it's not. We already know they got the media in their back pocket. We got all these stupid articles defending the show. If anything, they just expose how much money they put into the media and fooling people. But yeah, like I said, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. Sub to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day.